This is a Z89 exclusive interview.
Welcome back to A Brief Intermission, the show where you can take a brief intermission from your day and get front row delivery of all the backstage theater news right here in Central New York. I am so excited to be joined this week by three cast members from Redhouse Arts Center's upcoming production of Da, which is a Tony Award winner for Best Play, where a middle-aged man returns to his native home of Dublin to sort through and come to terms with his relationship with a maddening presence in his life. Please welcome Parker Howland, Michael Doherty, and Alexis Martin to A Brief Intermission. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so I want to get into the show, of course, but first I want to learn a little bit more about each of you, your theater backgrounds, and just what kind of brought you into this industry.
I can start. I'm from Binghamton, so I'm not far from Syracuse, and I grew up doing community theater and sports as well in the summer, doing extracurricular stuff through the town. And then when I got older, I joined summer camps in the summer, like theater summer camps, and so I did that all through high school. And then I went to college in at SUNY New Paltz, which is down in the Hudson Valley. And I had great opportunities there on internships and different stuff through like arts administration and other aspects of the stage that aren't being on the stage and being the forefront. And so then I graduated, and now that's kind of what I do. I do performing, and then I bounce around to other arts administrative positions and wardrobe positions and tech positions and other stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm also based just outside of Syracuse. I've acted for most of my life, whether it was in school or community theater, and now I'm doing regional theater, which has been so lovely. There's so much talent in this area to witness and to be a part of, so it's really so exciting. And I recently got into playwriting within the last year and a half or 2 years. And so I have a play called Old Money, New Habits, and I'm now learning that side of the theater space because I always hoped for and had the goal of having a career of kind of just being wherever the theater will have me. So
Yeah.
whether that's acting or playwriting or directing, yeah, just kind of a jack of all trades sort of mindset.
Very cool.
Amen. Yeah, I grew up in. I'm Michael Doherty. I grew up in Northeast PA in the Poconos. I grew up doing community theater like these guys, and I went to Philly for a musical theater BFA program at the University of the Arts, which no longer exists. RIP. Very, very suddenly closed and recently, which was very sad. But it was a great program, and I didn't know what regional theater was before I went to college. And then I started seeing local theater in Philly, and it blew my mind. Like, I had such a New York City mindset about it.
Yep.
And I lived in Philly for 15 years, and then I started working at other regional theaters around the country. And now I'm technically based out of New York, but I'm on the road all the time, and it's just a great way to see the country. More recently, I became a playwright, produced it in the Philly Fringe. It's premiering at Cincy Shakespeare Company this summer, which has been an exciting journey. I was saying I also connected with Alexis about this. I got to read her play, and it's fantastic. And it's cool meeting like-minded people on the road.
And Michael's
Absolutely.
play is hilarious as well.
I love it. I love it. And definitely want to get into that in a little bit as well. But kind of like what brought the three of you together is this production going on at Red House. So, coming from your different backgrounds, what drew you to Red House and also specifically this production?
Well, Red House has been a part of my life since 2019. It was my first job. It was I was slinging popcorn in concessions and seeing actors go by and be like, "Oh, one day," sort of
Oh, I
thing.
love that.
And
So full circle.
yeah, so and then I started doing shows with them right after COVID. The first show that I was in was Sister Act, directed by the artistic director Tamar Underwood. And ever since then, just anywhere they'll have me. And what was really special was that my first play won a grant that was sponsored by Red House. So that just recently went up this past June for a one night only performance. So it was very full circle to see to be a part of so many productions and then see my own go up there as well. They're just such generous folks, and the talent's insane, and the production quality is magnificent. So truly, just yeah, I anytime they hold auditions or whatever they're doing, I'm like, sign me up, I'll be there.
Yeah, I think that growing up in Binghamton, Red House is so close and accessible, and I've had several friends who have worked for Red House in the past, and so I think them being part of it was what introduced me to it, probably around the same time, around like 2018, 19, 20. And since then, I followed them on Instagram. I see all their posts and everything, and I just like being in college, being a college student, following them on Instagram. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do a show here. Like this caliber of professionalism is not something that I have had that immediate access to. Like Binghamton has professional theater, but not to this caliber and this level in the way that Syracuse does. And so I auditioned for my first time 2 years ago, I think. And from that first audition, I got a call back, and then I was booked in last season. I was in the play last season, The Flick. And it was just such an incredible experience that I was like, I have to come back. Like the staff is incredible and amazing, and the artistic vision is incredible and amazing. And everyone who's hired, from directors to designers to, you know, everyone is just, they're so talented and such kind people. And so then I read this play, and funny enough, this play is marketed as a comedy, and I read it for my first time and I was like, I don't see the humor in this. I don't get how this is funny, but like I liked that it was a non-linear timeline. I think that that is really interesting, and can be done in so many variety of different ways. And at the very beginning of the script, it describes the setting and the scenic design of the play, and it's all very abstract. And I think that that really intrigued me. And so I went to my callback and we talked about, I think I mentioned in my callback, like, I didn't laugh. Like, I didn't find it very funny. And they were like, oh, that's okay. Like, let's like break it down. Let's break it down and find. And now, I mean, now knowing what I know now, we went to the first read through and I was like laughing from the start to the end. Like, it was hilarious. And so I think that was my first initial impression was, I'm not sure about this, but I'll audition anyway. And now I'm just so glad to be a part of it. It's clearly something that I think is going to bring a lot of people a lot of joy. And so I'm very excited.
Yeah. This is my first time even in Syracuse, first time at Redhouse. I met Vince Cardinal back in 2015 at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. We've worked together a few times. I love working with Vince. And I know this has been a kind of artistic home to him. And now I totally get why. That the staff here is amazing. Like they're this tiny team and they just care so much about it and they love what they do. And that just translates so beautifully to the room. Like everyone is so excited to be there, so excited to be working on it. And you never see plays like Da and The Flick getting produced regionally. So they're able to take artistic risks because of their relationship to their audience, which is really cool. I love this play. And I also, I love how unexpectedly funny it is. Because like Parker was saying, because of this nonlinear, non-chronological storytelling, it's able to surprise you so consistently and in so many different ways. You truly don't know. You feel the full spectrum of emotions, and it's a really impressive piece of writing that way.
Yeah. And you guys keep referring to like this non-linear format of storytelling. I know in the show it takes a lot of flashbacks, right? Parker, you're playing the young version of Charlie. So within your own words, can you guys talk a little bit more about like the storyline of the show for someone who maybe has never heard of it before without giving too much away, of course?
Yeah. I think that I've been running into this a lot recently, that I'll tell people I'm doing this play, and they're like, I've never heard of it. And so it is exactly what you were saying. There's a middle-aged man comes back to his home, to clear it out after his father has passed. And he, through going through the things that his father has owned and the different pieces of the space that remind him of his childhood, we're transported back in time to when he was young, when he was learning lessons from his father, when he was gaining experiences from his father, and really other relationships in his life. We see his best friend, we see his employer, we see a lot of people who have influenced him to become the person he is now. And I think that that's something that a lot of us relate to, is like coming to a point in your life where you run into something that you're like, oh my gosh, wait, remember years ago when this thing happened? And it's bringing back these fresh memories, or maybe things that you think about all the time, things that you don't think about really often. And they all kind of weave their way back in as he's clearing out the home.
Yeah, and what is it kind of like playing the younger version of the main character and being able to incorporate yourself into the character of Charlie, but also making sure that it's still aligned with the other version of Charlie that we're currently seeing on the stage?
Yeah, it's so cool. I think that a lot of it for me, I've been focusing a lot on physicality. The time period we're in is 1944, around 1940. And so there's just such a way that people held themselves in that time. And especially in Ireland, especially in the location that we're in, there was such a way that people held themselves. And then the character, after he's grown, he's moved to London and he's lived a full life and he's come back. And so I think that that physicality, I'm doing my best to continue that physicality between the two of us, to keep the physical space that you're embodying similar, while at the same time being able to encompass a person at extremely different points in their life, when they're very young and unknowing about the world and what's going to happen to them, and later in their life when they are fully aware of what has happened to them in their life and what is to come for them. And so I think that for me, it's been a lot about the physicality because the personalities are so different.
And for Alexis and Michael, have you kind of felt that same thing with your characters as well, or what other components of how you're approaching the two characters that you play have you kind of been able to explore the more you dove into these characters?
Yeah, I get to play. I play Charlie's best friend from childhood, Oliver, and you see him at 40 years old and 18 years old, and then in his mid 20s. Kind of. I get to interact with present Charlie and young Charlie, both. And it's fun being able to see not only like the way this character like matures over time, but to see the ways in which his own like neuroticisms and shortcomings have consequence in his adult life. That's been like a lot of our discussion in the room has been about all the like how the regrets that we talk about throughout this like play, how they actually manifest, and the things that these characters wish they could change that they wouldn't express. So it's been a cool way to layer in personality things and character and performance and behavior. Yeah, based on the knowledge we glean throughout the play. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, and my character, Mary Tate, she kind of comes in at a snapshot of Charlie's life and has a bit of a reputation around the town. But what I found fascinating is that because the play is set up the way that it is, it's all from Charlie's perspective. So everything is just how he remembers it. So it kind of is like playing around with, was this actually how the character was, or is Charlie's like, narration kind of, does that have an impact on it? And getting to play around with not only the dynamic with Charlie, but Da as well, because Da is so at the heart of the piece and has a bit of, impact on each of the characters as well, whether it's directly or indirectly or anywhere in between. So getting to interact with young Charlie, and finding the funny moments of that through physicality and dialogue, and then Da's overall impact on any given moment has been really wonderful to play around with. And Vince has been so fantastic in asking us questions about our character and saying like, what might happen this, and give a thing and play around with this emotion and see, and then it will like totally change the scene. So the play is so adaptable. For whatever you give it, it'll give you something right back.
Absolutely love that. And from a playwright's perspective, and for Michael as well, have you been able to kind of now knowing what it is like to go and write a play? how has that impacted your characterization or even just looking at the structure of the show in and of itself, just from having an outside perspective, not just from an actor's point of view?
Yeah, I do think it's a beautifully structured show. Like Hugh Leonard put so much thought into. I haven't even cracked all the mysteries of why we watch events in this particular sequence, but every time something clicks, I'm always like, "You're a genius!" Like you understand why this story needed to be told in this way so well. And I love a play that rewards you the more you investigate it. That is certainly the case here. And also, I don't know. I feel like as writers, you could speak this too, Alexis, but you start to understand your place within a story.
Yeah, it's the structure is insane. Like it's just because nothing is unimportant. I would last night I was actually talking with a couple people of like, even if it's talking about gardening, that is actually talking about what the show is about. And it's just crazy that no moment, because it's talking about pruning, cutting things out, and there's a line somewhere in the show where it's like, if you don't pay mind to ghosts, they don't pay mind to you. And little things like that, and when you go back and either rewatch it or if you sit there knowing, it's like, oh, everything has meaning in it. Every character, no matter how long they're on stage, has a huge impact on the story. And also the naturalness, is that a word? Writer of the dialogue too. Like it just shows so much humanity because so many people cope through humor or and there are some really intense moments too that you just kind of go on this emotional journey where it's like, oh, I'm laughing, oh, I'm crying, and now I'm laughing again, which exactly captures how life is.
Yeah, starting with Parker, I want to know from each of you though, what has been the hardest part about this production for you, whether it's the characterization piece or going from those emotions from being really, really intense one moment, but then trying to be funny the next second. What has kind of been the biggest challenge for each of you?
I think I have two answers. Initially, when you say that, my mind goes right to the accent. Um, I, 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 I find myself every single day being like, okay, how am I going to say this word? And then you get so in your head of like, what does this word sound? If it's an ah or a ooh or like you're like trying all these different. When I graduated college, I worked at a summer camp, and there was a ton of counselors from Ireland, and like they all had these accents that were very like subtle, but they were clear and distinct, and you knew exactly. And so I think trying to capture that element of it, being able to be understood by the audience while at the same time being true to the accent has been difficult. I think I've never been in a role, or I don't even know that I've read a role before that is like the young and the older version. And so approaching that has been really interesting. I've been in positions before where I'm an understudy, and like your interpretation of the character can be totally different within the guidelines of what the director has set up. And so I think bridging that gap to the point where we can see that they're the same person, but we see that they're very different. Every day I'm kind of walking that line of like, okay, does this bring us closer? Does this bring us further away? How does this, incorporate this connection between the two of us so that we can feel as if no time is passing? So that would be my two answers of things that every day when we get to rehearsal, I'm like actively thinking about, okay, how can I improve on this? How can I incorporate this into what I'm doing tonight?
Yeah, Wabe, I am horrible with accents. So you're already a step ahead of me. I would probably be freaking out if I had to do an accent. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. And we have great help. I mean, Tom Miller, our dialect coach, like he's amazing. He's incredible. And I've worked with him on a show before. I worked with him this past fall when I was an understudy in a production in Rochester. And he's fantastic and he's amazing. And it's just one of those personal things that you're like,
yeah.
I really want to nail this. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for my character, she her backstory or that what's given about her in the script is sort of limited. Like there's a lot to kind of be like, as an actor, okay, I have to fill in these gaps in a very short amount of time too, because she's not on stage a whole lot. So it's just sort of like giving enough so the audience knows what they need to know, but then also being able to play with Parker or with Fred and just to find those really authentic moments in it without being like, okay, next line, hand here, sort of thing. Like letting the blocking and the lines do the work and then just allowing us to show the human side of it. Because I'm very used to musical theater where it's like bing, bang, thank you, ma'am, sort of like, and jazz hands at the end. So actually, being able to slow down a little bit and to just breathe on stage has been really a great opportunity to learn more how to do that.
Yeah. And because this is naturalism, as we've said, obviously the job of an actor in any scenario is to figure out why they say and do all the things they say and do. And I've been finding more than I expected that the spread, the breadth of possibility of interpretation of all these behaviors is a lot wider than I would have expected. And this is why it's so great to have a director. And Vince is so keen in his observations that he's like, so why do you do that? And to really answer those questions, then and to be presented with another possibility of what a character might be motivated by. It's like, okay, well, I can recalibrate to that, but that changes several other things. And it's like this butterfly effect of like just deciding something as simple as a character's motivations, I'll also say getting to be on stage with Fred and Josh, our two leads, like just watching them work, you can learn so much about how you can exist on stage in a natural way that also feels shared with the audience and feels like you can be like really, really clear in your intention and live and breathe in a way that is incredibly like in this moment,
Yeah,
That's
totally. And kind of as a way to close out, I want to talk about how this show still is relevant in 2026 and why people,
mm,
especially younger people who may have never heard of the show. I mean, it did come out in 1978.
mhm.
So, why do you think this show is still so relevant to today's audience and why young people should go out to go see it?
I was just talking to my wife about this, about why the show impresses me. And I would say that, often when you're dealing with like a period piece or especially a show written a while ago, there's things that don't age well. And I'd say this show has aged remarkably well because even when they're addressing something unsavory in the way like a society of a certain time talks about women, for example, the writer is so aware of those societal shortcomings or those behavioral shortcomings that it's always commenting on the thing. It's never the writer, the narrator is never unaware of what those issues are. So because of that, you're able to be confronted with themes that are maybe challenging or upsetting in a way that is like really thoughtful, And I think it's kind of the most incredible thing about it and about Hugh Leonard as a writer, I'd say.
Yeah. I think the themes in it are timeless. We all still fall in love the same now as we did in the 14th century, like and we also feel love the same way, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between, where, it's not always picture perfect, but it's perfect for the situation and the people a part of it. And that it comes in so many different ways from so many different people in one's life. So being able to sit back and see these completely different characters, not only in a different time period, but a different country, and to see like, oh, that's my mom, or like that's my dad, and like, and oh, I know that, and you see Charlie do this, and like it's like I know that feeling, and how we interact with our friends and seeing the dynamics, but fly off the page with the incredible talent in this production. Yeah, it's a play that's going to be relevant now and 30 years from now, I would say.
Yeah, I think I have a very similar answer that I think the play in its entirety is about generations and our different connections to our different generations and our different relationships. And I have that exact same moment every night of going, that is so my dad. That is so my grandfather. That is so so and so who's our neighbor. Like it's so these people are so real and exactly what you said, even they're from a different time period, but you go, I know that person. I totally know that person. And I think also the show is in a three-quarter thrust stage, and the seats are so intimate that like I was sitting last night in a seat watching and I was going, oh my gosh, like other people are sitting on that side, other people are sitting on that side, and it's incredible. The same, you can get the same story. Like I think it's amazing that you can see from the front just as well as you can see from the sides, and it all gives this sort of feeling of being with these people on top of the fact that you go, I spend every single day with these people. Like you just know them. And I think that's so warm and comforting in a world where we are currently constantly looking for that connection, to find people who are like us, to find people who feel the way that we feel, to experience things with other people.
Absolutely. Well, DAW is going to be at Redhouse Arts Center from March 20th through March 29th. Alexis, Michael, Parker, thank you so much for coming on to A Brief Intermission. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
you.